This is the Economic Development Council meeting, November 12th, 2020. This meeting is televised. And the first order of business is to accept the meeting minutes of October 8th. So did everyone have a chance to review that? Okay. Can somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes as is or make changes?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
The second.
All right, so Dottie and then Bruce, all those in favor, Dottie?
Yes, that was Dan who seconded though.
Okay, then there you go. Dottie, yes. Dan?
Smith, yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right, so next item on the agenda is the Growth District Ambassadors, the 5-question status. We're still working on it. Stephanie and I haven't been able to get together to narrow it down. Haven't been able to talk to Dan to narrow it down. Wanted it on there as it's been such an important item for the past few meetings, but the status has not changed. So that is still a work in progress. Which brings us to the PACE status. So Stephanie or Dan or Dottie, can you bring us up to speed on what's going on with that?
Well, I can let you know, one of the things, again, I was charged with doing call outs to towns that have already adopted the program. I did talk with Jay Patik, or communicate with Jay Patikas, and I asked him if he could provide the names of the individuals who were responsible, because the list of the towns didn't give that information. And he did get back to me. He let me know that Elizabeth Jenkins from, oh my goodness, I know her town. I'm not going to have it off the top of my head, but she is willing to talk. And then there was one other individual, but the others are not ready. They don't want to talk at this point because they really are just starting to get the program going and they haven't really done anything with it. So I have a call scheduled for today with Elizabeth Jenkins to see how they're doing with it and what they're doing.
Okay. How is the town of Easton? Like, are we, I know you have to hear from those people and have this conversation, but how close are we to recommending this or not recommending
well,
this?
I really think that, you know, again, the meeting with Connor, Dottie is chair of the select board, and Wendy needs to happen. And when I had talked with Connor about it, he'd asked, let's just kind of wait to get through special town meeting, just because we've got so much else on our plates right now.
Okay. So town meeting's on November 30th.
Yeah.
Are you gonna, can we then schedule that meeting?
Yes.
Before our next meeting?
Sure.
I think our next meeting is December 9th. So between November 30th and December 9th, I'm hoping there will be availability between those folks so that on December 9th, we can come back to this meeting and have some material to talk about and hopefully make a recommendation or not make a recommendation. Is there anything else to add about the PACE conversation, Dan?
No, I think that sounds fair given town meeting. I know that Stephanie, you connected with Dan Knappich, right?
Yes. Yep.
In Yarmouth, and had a good call with him.
Yeah, that was very positive.
Yeah.
And I'd also just communicated a little bit with Rob May, not a formal conversation. We emailed back and forth.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but John's in the waiting room. Can you?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Just to see how they were going to be promoting it. And at that time he said, I haven't even thought about it yet. But then I did see he posted something almost within hours of on Facebook. So just kind of letting people know that Brockton has signed up for it.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so I think that covers the PACE status. PACE status. We're gonna leave it as December 9th. We'll have some material to actually talk about. So the next item on the agenda is potential business community forum, winter places. And that was Stephanie and I, you had sent that information to me. It sounds like a great idea. And I know you've reviewed it and gone through it probably more than anyone here has. So if it's all right, could you take us through it? You can even share your screen if you'd like, whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah, let me just start. So I did send a link to a Dropbox because the guidebook itself is quite large. The DHCD contracted with Bench Consulting to seek designs, and Bench Consulting was responsible for actually going out and soliciting designs that could be compiled into a guidebook for communities. And when I say communities, I mean the broad communities, not just the community governments, with ideas on how businesses might be able to operate and create some safe winter spaces. So you could do business during the winter months. They had a webinar where they talked about the guidebook, and they talked about the process that they would suggest a community use to solicit ideas and maybe possibly create some action items for creating spaces within their own communities. So I know, John, I think you were able to get to the guidebook because I did get
Yes.
an email response from Dropbox. Matt, I think we got one to you today. But John was the only one who I got an email back from Dropbox that he'd been able to pick it up. And Dan, I did try to email it to you. I did not have time to go and send another Dropbox email, but I am going to suggest you take a look at that. What I did is they didn't provide us with a copy of the presentation that they presented at the webinar. I took pictures of key slides, and Tish very kindly compiled them into a PowerPoint. So I am going to share my screen and kind of talk about this. But again, what they were talking about is getting together within the community, bringing business leaders together, business owners, other civic leaders that might have an interest in helping identify potential solutions for creating safe spaces in your community, and that would allow for business activities, not just restaurants, but maybe retail sales, creating activities that would bring people into, say, a downtown area, kind of like a festival type atmosphere. Dottie, I thought of Prova a lot when I was looking at this. I see Matt nodding his head. Are you familiar with Prova?
I am vaguely familiar with Prova, but I also know they've done a similar initiative at City Hall Plaza in Boston back when I was a city slicker the last couple of years. And it's been hugely popular.
Right. So, but again, stressing, so my idea was that the Economic Development Council could take a lead role in having a business forum where we reach out to business owners and, again, some of the other civic groups, invite the chambers of commerce, some of the town officials who would be interested in participating, and anyone else you can think about, and have a forum where it's really a brainstorming session. We'd share the guidebook with the invitees so they understand kind of where we're coming from on this, and they have some ideas that will prompt a discussion, and that then have a general brainstorming to figure out how we might be able to do this in Easton. And, you know, kind of the knee-jerk thought is, other than the main street right now, we don't really have like a central downtown area, but we might be able to, you know, people might have some neat ideas how to do different things. You know, Dottie, can I steal your thunder on this one? When I was talking with Dottie about it, she was mentioning that she was talking with, I can't remember the name of but it was one of the places that has activities, indoor activities for children, and where you have birthday parties and things. And immediately Dottie thought you could do outdoor activities, and to bring that together, maybe with, like a dining area, and maybe like a sidewalk sale for a retail business where it's all in one location. That might actually be something that is feasible for Easton and for our business owners. So I'm going to share the screen now. I'm not necessarily going to go through all these slides, but okay. So can everyone see the first slide? Does that show up well? Do I need to go into?
I see the Zoom.
Yeah.
It's not the slide.
I think you might just need
Are
a
you
tab.
seeing the thing that says Zoom 5.0 is here?
Yes.
Okay, that pops up every time I do that lately. And then you're getting the rest of my screen, I bet.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me try this again. Stop share. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So again, that's just the title slide. And then, again, here are just some examples of how you might create an area. And this isn't along a sidewalk. This might be, in this instance, this might be a parking lot. And they have vacant storefronts where they're projecting different type of artwork, and artists painted barriers along here. So you might engage say the cultural council and get some of the artists involved to help decorate. There are seating areas along here, and with some food kiosks and warm-up islands. The guidebook is really good at identifying different ideas on how to keep spaces warm and keep people warm while in these outdoor areas. So again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but this is just a graphic that shows how you could separate out different activities in zones. This slide shows how you can use temporary landscaping and incorporate it into your winter space to create barriers. The barriers do a couple of things. They can define spaces to keep the physical distancing that's required to prevent the spread of COVID, but also they can form wind barriers. One of the other kind of cool ideas people had was, people look at snow and, oh my goodness, snow becomes an impediment, but it can also become a valuable material for building barriers and windscreens if you get a lot of it. Hopefully this winter we won't, and it will make it easier. This is, again, just depicting how you might have some carts set up with a warming area. This is one of those outdoor fireplaces and people walking around. And so again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I really thought I'd really like to hear from the council members and get your thoughts and ideas and how we might formulate the, if we're going to move forward with a forum, how we might formulate that. I have some ideas, but I'd like to hear from everyone else. So again, these are kind of the things that you need to think about. Implementation, logistics, funding, what the support is. Once you move forward with this, it needs to be maintained. Any idea that you have, it needs to be executed and acted on.
So I guess my first question is, we create a forum and we present this to groups of people or individuals or business owners in town, but the responsibility would be on them to create this place, not the town or us.
It would be a joint effort. It would need, okay. So what you probably need to do is form like a core group, like a stakeholders group that's committed to making whatever the idea is, happen. And it might be a couple of different ideas in a couple of different groups that are interested in that.
And are you thinking of like a permanent space or a space set up for a weekend? What, or is that something that would be put out there in this forum?
Yeah, the last, if I understand what you're saying, which is certainly any temporary spaces that might work.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something that could morph into a permanent space and become part of the public realm, then that certainly is encouraged as well, or carried on by a business group, kind of like a downtown business group or something. One of the things the Shared Streets and Spaces grant really encourages, any kind of temporary accommodations that can be made that then can become permanent. Mm-hmm. So in looking at potentially securing some of those funds, that would be a benefit.
There's two organizations, places, that I know of that, granted, they don't do outdoor spacing for this type of environment in the winter, but every weekend, the original Easton Farmers Market, they have a space like this, though it's not in the winter. They could be winterized to a degree, but also Langwater. They have a ton of experience in outdoor forums. So, my initial thought is those are two groups that I would contemplate inviting to this forum, in addition to the Chamber of Commerce, obviously, and us, and then any business owners in town that would want to participate. But between those groups, Langwater, the farmers market, I can't imagine them not wanting to participate in something like this. It's a continuation of their business, but it invites more businesses to participate in, which only helps their business.
Mm-hmm. And I hadn't thought about well, you call it the S-curve, but the cutout there at the S-curve where the farmers market operates, but that could potentially be a location. Mm. And it may not be that this may not be something that's I'm semi-permanent through the winter. It might be an event that occurs over, say, a particular weekend, if it makes sense.
Right.
That's one of the things they stress too, that you need the business owners involved, not just because you want their commitment and buy-in. And I'm going to jump back a minute. I'm going to answer your question I meant to answer earlier. The town will be involved, but the town will be involved where we need to be involved to help facilitate and make things work. So if there are certain permits that are needed, if it's being proposed on town land, like at the S-curve, that the appropriate licenses or authorization is granted, things like that, helping out if there are grants that are available through municipalities and how we use them.
I have a couple questions and thoughts on that also. So I'm also thinking about how the Lions Club does their winter holiday festival. So maybe one thing to consider, they're not doing it like that this year because of COVID, is maybe thinking of, if we were doing this, looking at it like it was a weekend thing for a couple or a few weekends, maybe shutting down Main Street and doing something like the way the Lions Club does for the way we route traffic around that for that 2 days, and doing something in the downtown, and maybe putting some kind of a structure in the municipal parking lot. But I'm also thinking about, we have 2 areas for targeted economic development in Queesit and Five Corners. If we were to work with the property owners in, let's say, Five Corners, that's a huge parking lot that's never filled. What if we were to set a part of that parking lot almost like some type of little area like that, where you could have vendors, you could have the farmers market, you'd be driving traffic to that area that may also then go to TJ Maxx afterwards or to Kinfolk. bring people to that area to take a look at it. And the same thing, if we could talk to the owner of, the big property that's up by Queesit where the Octagon building is, or there's a lot of land behind Wendy's, maybe we could set up a temporary placemaking kind of a structure, which is kind of what this is really talking about. You could have some kids games, you could have, stuff like that. But I think the thing we have to balance is COVID on top of this. Like, we're trying to bring people out for winter things to keep them in a safe environment, but we'd have to really be looking at, you couldn't really do a bouncy house or a slide like the Lions Club has done for kids, because that wouldn't be good for COVID. But maybe you could do an area to do snowballs or build a snowman or sledding or something like that. So
yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I went to Dottie's thoughts around, like, the great benefit of Prova for Brockton is that it's nimble, right? They had their anchor location to kick it off over on Main Street, and then they're nimble enough to move it into different economic areas. I like the benefits. So I love Dottie's point about utilizing either the Five Corners area or over in the Queesit district, where we can, bring folks, to more places than just the downtown itself, which is fantastic. Because I think the location and the amount of space that we'll need to make this as robust as possible is going to be a challenge. And above and beyond that, say that Five Corners or the Queesit district didn't work, maybe a location like the NRT where they have Harvest Fest, which they're used to having a lot of vendors with a lot of parking and a lot of support to help, facilitate activities like this. But I love the idea of it's Prova expanded, right? So you've got the vendors, but you're bringing retail into play as well, which, I think would be fantastic.
Right. And like Dottie suggested, one of the businesses that does kids activities and things, and they might even use that and then be able to do something separate and aside that isn't part of a group thing. If you were doing kids activities and birthday parties and you did an outdoor activity, you could probably do it at one of the town's open space areas. Just get permission from the Conservation Commission. I can't see that they would deny that. So these are really good ideas, and this is the kind of discussion we'd want to have. The thing is that because winter is pretty much upon us, and getting these things set up is going to take some effort, that we'd need to hold this forum pretty quickly. And again, what I'd like is some input on, and we really would need to do the forum through some kind of Zoom meeting. Zoom does allow for breakout rooms. I don't have a lot of experience yet in how to do those breakout rooms, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we might, again, I have some ideas, but how we might organize the forum itself, and especially organizations that aren't businesses that we might want to include. Dottie, you mentioned the Lions Club. I think they would be a great partner.
When is the grant due?
The grants are, I just wrote that down. So there are 4 rolling periods. If you submit by December 4th, the award is going to be the 22nd of December. Then the next target date is the 5th of January, with the awards announced on the 2nd of February. The third one is the 29th of January, with a February 26th award announcement date. And then the last one is the 26th of February, with an award date of the 26th of March. And you can see that this program is really trying to build some long-term, both viability and new commerce within the community, but also some permanent structures. So they're rolling into the spring. What's different about this grant round is if a community receives a grant in this round, or any of, meaning of the 4 rounds, they will not be eligible for another grant in the future. So it looks like they're really trying to spread the wealth to other communities and are restricting the number of grants that you can receive. It's not like the MassWorks grant, where they certainly try to spread the money around throughout the state. But if you're a state that's received in the past, you can still apply in the future.
What's the value of the grant, Stephanie?
Oh, you had to ask that. I didn't get that. I know it's, I'll have to get back to you on that, on the amounts.
So given the timeline, it seems less realistic that this would be like for a Christmas thing, which is typically when the Lions Club thing happens, right? But more for, I get that stretch of winter, which is like after the holidays, which everybody kind of dreads because there's nothing happening.
Right, right.
I wonder, I mean, in addition to asking the Lions Club, you know, part of what I've really enjoyed about those kind of events is finding the smaller vendors to support, I mean, for holiday gifting, but to be able to support those either food vendors or artisans who might be having a tough time, right? You know, I'm thinking about like Simpson Spring or where their sort of vendor events that they used to hold aren't happening anymore because they just can't happen inside.
Right.
So which one are we going to shoot for?
Well, I would say let's not decide that now. And even you know, the point that Matt raised, I wouldn't rule out Christmas because there might be something that could be organized quickly, and it may be a little less permanent. It may, you know, it may be very low budget. But I would like to hear from the forum on what their ideas are. And I would suggest that even within the forum that we try to get them to focus on a few things that might work, not, you know, everything under the sun, because we need to really focus and make it happen.
Well, the thing about Prova that was great is that it was one little like shed of a building where they sold drinks from that. And then they had picnic tables and umbrellas and chairs and, you know, the corn toss, you know, like a few things. So like you could basically bring in a truck, pick all that stuff up and move it to another location. So if we were looking at it like that, to be able to try this out in different areas in a placemaking kind of a way, we could think about like, what would we need to order to do that? Like if we ordered 10 small pine, you know, Christmas tree looking shaped pine trees that had box stands that you could just pick them up and easily move them. That could be a screen or a shield, or like even in Boston in the beer gardens and stuff like that, that's what they do, is they have those temporary kind of trees to give it a sense of place. They'll have some tables, you know, some chairs, things like that, but they're movable. So that might be something that we could be thinking of. And like if we had the fireplace like that was in one of those drawings, like a temporary fire pit, if you will, something that we could maybe easily have some volunteer group, or I don't know if the DPW would even have the capacity, but somehow to be able to move that around quickly. It's got to be something that we can do quickly, because by the time we have the forum and we think about it and we get approvals and we do all this stuff, it's going to be March. You know, so
oh, I was thinking the forum would need to be within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
we'd have to act very, very quickly on this. And again, that's the whole point of having some ideas, and having some ideas like that, Dottie, to feed the conversation, I think is really good. And even like with the trees, you know, we could ask that, how do you acquire those trees? Well, everyone's throwing their Christmas tree out after Christmas. So, you know, that might be an opportunity. Have people have a drop-off place where people can drop off their trees, and then maybe volunteers are willing to create stands. Those aren't too difficult to do. They actually last outdoors pretty long. I don't know how many of you folks compost your Christmas trees on your own property, but I do, and it lasts a long time once it's outside in the cold weather.
Have you had a chance to see the application yet? what they're looking for content and everything else? Is that all published or?
Yeah, that's online. And I actually filled one out. We were hoping we could get some funding to help Farmer's Daughter with the tents and heating on Main Street because they're actually in the public realm, but we did not receive that grant. It's really pretty straightforward. They want a description of what you're proposing, who's involved, especially if it's something that is going to advance either increase pedestrian access or bicycling access and make it, with the COVID tie-in is creating more distancing to make those things safer.
And this would be the same type of application?
Yeah.
This is the same?
Yeah.
How much was the Farmer's Daughter application for?
The total dollar amount, it was, gosh, I think it was under $50,000.
Under 50?
Yeah, it was not a lot of.
Okay.
Is this through the Shared Streets grant, Stephanie?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Shared Streets and Program Spaces grant is one opportunity that they suggested. The other is, and I'm pretty sure, I know Brockton used Patronicity, which is like GoFundMe for municipalities, or where it's, I'm trying to find that slide. It's the one slide I really wanted here. Oh, it's one I don't see. So those were just two potential funding opportunities that they suggested at the webinar.
Okay. There's going to be another webinar this coming week from that same winter neighborhood thing. It's like the part 2 of the one that you went to.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up for it, I think, but I can't. I have too many calendars going. And
yeah, you sent that to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at that in a lot of detail.
Is that as simple as just registering? Is that something you can forward to the group and anybody that can make it can?
Yeah, I'll send that off to Stephanie and Mark and they can forward it out to everyone.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, my only concern is the very first grant isn't awarded until December 22nd. So Christmas is obviously out of the question. You're not going to put anything in motion until you know you've got a grant in place that you've won. So that's why I asked which grant are we aiming for. I think that decision needs to be thought of at the same time these forums are being held. Time is absolutely not on our side at all. It's November 12th. If we want to do something in January, February, we have to start putting together the grant now and scheduling the forum with the Lions Club, the Chamber, the Farmers Market, and business owners in town. I love this whole concept. It has to move very quickly.
Right, and I think let's not put the cart before the horse, or because some of these ideas, you can spend a lot of money, you can do it on the cheap, and this, let's see. So I'm still sharing. You see the slide I'm on right now, where they show the temporary, inexpensive, and of course this is a summer layout. It's not a winter, but they're just showing up. They threw up one of those very inexpensive canopies with some lawn chairs, and then over time you can convert that space, or you can do something more permanent and more durable. The idea is, again, and this is where it's up to the council where you want to go with this, where the idea of the forum is, what might we be able to come up with that would be quick and dirty. So what might take a little bit longer, what makes sense from a financial standpoint to the businesses, because it really needs to make sense to the businesses. Some of these one-off things, if there isn't something that is going to allow them to operate continuously through the winter, or doesn't help increase that, potential to operate. So as an example, you know, you might do a weekend event where someone like the farmers market is selling food, but they're also promoting the fact that they're available for takeout. I wonder how many people actually thought Hayashi was doing takeout, because all winter long, I never thought of that. And it wasn't until about a month ago that I really wanted food from Hayashi and took the step of looking and seeing. So, you know, something like that could be, it needs to make sense for the businesses too, to go through the effort. So.
Okay. So from here, at the very least, we have to reach out to create a forum, reach out to groups to create a forum.
So what
Correct.
They want to do that?
Yeah. I mean, how do we find out if they even want to do that?
Is that something like the chamber? Does the chamber have like a listserv, Chamber of Commerce, I should say? Like, is that an easy way to gauge interest?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that would be, I would give Karen Newman a call today,
Okay.
and then reach out to Chris Cooney, because I think we should involve Metro South as well, and see.
Well, also we have our own business list, right, Stephanie? Because they don't. I love working with the chambers, but they reach out to their members that are subscribers.
That's
and
right.
Not everybody is a subscriber, so we don't want to leave anybody out that might not know about those. So.
We would not, and it would just be easy, right? So we'd use the chamber to reach out to their members, because then they could take care of that. We do a mailing. We have email addresses for a lot of our business owners right now. We've been putting that together it's been worked on over the last couple of years. We've used it for some of the information that we've shared recently with our small business owners. So that would be how we do it. And we'd ask people to respond. You know, are you interested in this forum? It's a brainstorming session. I do think if depending on the response, we'll get a good sense of how interested people are in doing this. If the response is large, I think then we need to talk about how do we structure the forum, because getting the information, getting people on board, and then understanding what the takeaways are is critical to being successful. I was thinking, you know, we could do breakout groups and have people, so very similar to a strategy session where the groups each talk amongst themselves and come up with a few ideas, and then they come back to the general group and someone from their group responds, reviews what they discussed and what their ideas were. And then from there, we could maybe as a group whittle it down. And we might have to do it in a couple sessions. But again, the idea is that you make it clear right up front, if we're going to do it in a couple sessions, they're going to need to be in short order of the other, that if anything's going to be able to be acted on.
Okay. All right. So you say you can make that call today or tomorrow?
Yeah.
We'll go from there. Anybody
also, I had sent this, I think, to Mark and Stephanie, but there's a group on Facebook that set up this. It's a hashtag shop local, shop Easton, and they're tagging businesses, and I think it's also on Instagram, and they're asking small businesses to submit onto this, you know, Facebook page that they have. And then use those tags so that there's a collection of all the small businesses. And I had asked, it's run by a woman in town. I asked her if she would add Dine Local, Dine Easton, so that we could also have a collection of the restaurants separately. So she's been doing that just on her own, something that she wanted to do. And it looks like it's having some pretty good success. And there are a lot of businesses that I didn't realize, like real small businesses, like someone who sells jewelry or things like that. So that might be a group to, I actually tried, and Mark tried to reach out to her to see if she would come to one of our meetings to talk about the successes that they're having with that. We weren't able to make that happen for this one, but I think that that's definitely gaining some momentum, and we'd want to make sure that we're including them in this conversation as well.
Dan, I just looked up the grant range. So they have awarded and will be awarding grants between $5,000 and $500,000. I can tell you the larger grants are very likely to go where any idea or project involves a lot of different businesses within your community and increases sidewalk, pedestrian and bicycling.
And once we're awarded, once we're not eligible to go after anything else.
Right.
So we only have one bite of the apple, and if we can get up to $500,000.
And that's for the grant. I really can't stress enough. And again, no matter what we say and how much involvement the business communities have, and any other volunteers that they're able to bring to the table, I believe that there is work on my end, the town end of this. So this is not something that we're even talking about lightly, because there will be a lot of work. I just want to stress that I think talking about ideas that are low cost and not just focusing on the available grants is really important, because it's really about trying to help these businesses stay viable through this pandemic and help them come out on the other side.
I think too, I was just going to say that if the amount of money gets too big, even though it's a grant, so say we got, $50,000 for a grant, and then we had to go out and procure some of these pieces to that, then do we run into procurement process and getting bids for things?
Yes.
And so again, some of these things could be roadblocks for us. If we wanted to go buy, some picnic tables, we might have to go put some of that out for bid, maybe. I don't know.
So much is contingent upon the size of the bid award.
Right.
The grant award, rather. Yeah.
And again, things like, so you could use, Christmas trees as post-Christmas Christmas trees, maybe as the vegetated barrier. You might have, maybe someone like Flynn Nurseries or Flynn Farm would be willing, if they have plant material that they could use, and maybe donate that or loan material during the time an area is set up, and advertise. You give it as, here's an opportunity for you to advertise your business, at the same time helping to promote and help other businesses survive.
Okay. All right. So go ahead, Stephanie.
No. I was just going to say, so Mark, you had started to ask. I can certainly, and we'll call Karen and Chris Cooney. I'm guessing I'm going to get a positive response.
I think so. I think you're right.
And so then, but the question is, so are we moving forward? Because if they're in, then we need to start communicating and scheduling a date and getting things set up. Learn how to use the Zoom rooms, which I am, like I said, I'm not familiar with, but I know people have used them, and I think we can do that effectively.
I am in. It sounds like the board is in. Please, if you're not, or if you have any concerns or hesitations, now's the time to speak. Looks like there's no concerns or hesitation of anyone. So the board sounds like we are in. So if they want to move forward, let's move it.
Okay. Geez, Christina's not on the call. Could I ask? So to make this effective, we're going to need a good invitation and little flyer piece. Dottie, is that something you could work on with Christina?
Honestly, I don't think I have any spare time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if that was the only choice, I'll figure out a way to make it happen, but I'm buried in a million different directions right now, right before the end of the year.
So I'll call Christina and see if she has any bandwidth and can help with that.
Okay.
And I'm happy to jump on that too and help. Christina and I have been talking about the Think Easton website
Right.
back and forth for the last couple of weeks. So I'm certainly happy to help or catch up with Christina with a follow-up after this call.
Would you do that?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
That would be great. Okay.
Okay.
And so who did or did not find, who was or was not able to get to the guidebook? Because I think the guidebook will even help with building a little promo piece, Matt. I know John was able to, that he received my Dropbox invitation.
I was able to.
I was able to download it right away. I'm looking at it right now.
I'm sorry.
I was able to download it right away, and I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, so Bruce has it. Does anyone not have it? Dottie needs it.
No, I have it.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, Stephanie, I don't see it in my email. So I don't know if I accidentally, inadvertently deleted it, but
You know what? It came from Dropbox and it might have gone to your, spam or junk. So I am going to, like I said, I tried to email it to you, but it was too large and it kicked. I will send you another Dropbox share.
Okay. Can we move on to the next agenda item?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Just want to keep it moving. So the next item on the agenda is recent and upcoming communications and outreach. The Community Connector Small Business Grant announcement. I believe, that's the announcement that was for small business, and it was up to 50,000. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So that was supposed to close yesterday, and they extended that to the 17th. So that is,
I thought it was the 22nd, November 22nd. I was almost positive.
The extension?
I could be wrong. I looked at the original one, and for small business, it was different degrees of business that I looked at. Under 5, and then 5 to another threshold, and then another threshold. I could be wrong, but I've looked. You sent something, Dottie, that
right.
was.
Let me see if I can find it.
I'm trying to find it as well. Let's see. And Dottie, I did get your email about the extension, and we will send that out. Let's see. To make sure. Small business grant. No, it says in the email that we sent out, which I just copied and pasted from what Dottie, I think Dottie had sent it to me, says we'll close at 12:00 p.m. on the 12th, which is today. So I will get that out as soon as we get off the call.
The number of the 22nd, the application opened October 22nd. So maybe that's what you're thinking of, Mark.
Yeah, I could have. Yeah. Okay. So that's you're gonna send that out, and then the National Veteran Small Business Week announcement.
Yes. So again, we I think we sent that to the same distribution list because we don't know who might be a veteran small business, and we posted it on the EDC Facebook page. I posted it on our Twitter, Envision Easton Twitter, and we put it on the front page and in the town crier. So again, just more trying to get more outreach when we hear about programs that can benefit our business community.
And there was also another grant that was for women-owned restaurants. That was, I think, the beginning of October. And Stephanie sent that out to our women-owned restaurants as well. So I wish there was a way that we could find out if anybody got these grants or applied for them. I was, I was talking to one small business, and they were just so overwhelmed with not even knowing how to start an application. And some of the small businesses, the challenges that they face are things like you have to get a certificate of good standing from the state, and they don't know what that means. And they're trying to keep their business afloat, so they need some technical assistance. I've met with a company called Small Business Strong, and they've been doing the circuit ride with some of, like, they presented with the Metro South Chamber, and Rep Cronin has brought them into different places. They have a number of volunteers that are just waiting to get paired with a small business that needs help, depending on what kind of help they are. So they're a statewide organization. You can send a message to them, and they pair you up with one of their consultants for free. And it might be about how to do a business plan, or how to do something with your taxes, or whatever. So it's a really good resource for small businesses, and they have resources available in multiple languages. So, for some communities that, especially gateway cities that need those kind of services more than communities like Easton might need them, they're available too.
And Dottie, that's the small business.
It's called Small Business Strong is the name of the organization.
Is it different than, what's the name of the other small business group? I'm sure we have a link to it that helps. It's not SCORE. Yeah, the SCORE program. We do have a link on our website to SCORE. What I could do when we send things, these communications, and we're doing outreach to the different businesses, I can add a link to some of those programs.
Yeah,
so,
and then there's another one, the Center for Women in Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll send you all the contact information for those.
Yeah, if you could send that, and then actually what I'll do is we'll refine the links on our webpage, and we can always add a line when we're communicating with the businesses that says if you'd like, there something like there are a lot of resources available to small businesses looking for support, and you can find any number of them here on our web link, something like that.
Right.
That's a good point about the grant applications too.
Yeah, that grant application only had a 3-week window. So you had to really hop on it. And especially, you need to pull together your last couple of years of taxes, and you needed to get that small business certificate of good standing, or not small business, certificate of good standing.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand what that is. So if you wait too long, like, you have to order that with the state. So it takes a little while to get it.
Right. It's not something, I think there's a way they can send it to you electronically, but
okay. Yeah. So let's talk about potential. Well, first, can we talk about a new time? Not the 1 o'clock hour. 1 o'clock doesn't work for everybody in the group. So is it possible to move that either earlier, perhaps in the morning half, or later in the afternoon half?
The morning is better for me.
Okay.
Not that it's all about me, but
The same here. Morning would be better.
How does like 10 a.m. sound? Everybody's, I think most of us are going to be operating out of an office or our office. So, get to work, get settled, and then you're probably going to conduct the meeting from your office. Would 10 a.m. work?
Works for me.
Would this still be on Thursdays?
Yes.
It was just the time that was a problem for him, right, Mark?
Yes.
Because of dropping off kids.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, 10 o'clock works fine for me.
Thursdays at 10s every other week is my team meeting for work. So I could ask them to move it, but unfortunately most of my meetings are front loaded and then my afternoons are usually open, but I can try to, I can try to be flexible.
If a different day of the week works for people, did Tim say in his
Matt,
email?
I don't want to accommodate one person so as to inconvenience you. I don't think that would be fair or right. So, you know, does 9 work or 11 work or different day of the week work?
Yeah, I mean, sticking to Thursdays, you know, 9 a.m. is totally fine. Or I think as was originally suggested, you know, 2 p.m. or later would be fine on Thursday.
Okay. Did you say there was another day during the week at 10 that would work?
It generally varies, but usually, you know, Tuesday or Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. could probably work for me. Everything's a little in flux right now because we're in the middle of the holiday retail season and I work digital retail. So
Matt, were you saying it was an every other Thursday problem or it's an every Thursday?
I'm just scrolling through my calendar now and I apologize. Oh no, it is every Thursday. I thought it was every other Thursday because 2 Thursdays from now is Thanksgiving and there was no meeting on my calendar, obviously.
All right.
So it is every Thursday at 10. Yes, sorry.
Can we do Wednesday at 10?
I could never do Wednesday or Tuesday.
Okay. Not Wednesday or Tuesday.
I have standing meetings every Wednesday, so.
All right. How about Thursday at 11?
I could do Thursday at 11.
That works for me too.
That works for me.
Okay.
That works, yeah.
Yep.
Thursday at 11.
And are we sure? I'm just trying to find Tim's email to make sure that.
I was told the time that doesn't work. I wasn't given all the times that do work. So I'm gonna
go with that.
I'm gonna go with that. So all right, the new time is Thursdays at 11 a.m. That should work for everyone. All right, and then potential items for our next agenda. We never. It actually it probably worked out well. We forgot to put on this agenda Think Easton and an update from Matt and Christina. Christina was not able to make it, so maybe that was actually fortuitous. But it's not on the agenda, so I would want it on the agenda for next month.
Yeah, so I do have an update on that front, and Christina and I have been talking offline about that. So I put together a quick slide deck, which I would be happy to follow up with everybody via email on, which has a proposed site map. It has like very, very rough sort of page layout example for what we're envisioning for the different priority development districts.
That's great. So what I suggest is if you could send that to the group, and then we'll review it, and you and Christine will have the platform to discuss it in the next meeting and take us through it. But I also got to make sure that nobody responds to it in any sort of conversational manner, because that would be an open meeting law violation.
Okay, yeah, I can certainly
jump off right now because I have to be on at 2 o'clock, so I will catch up with you later.
I can certainly send that link and email. It's a Google Drive file. Should people not comment on the file, Mark?
Don't comment on the file. No.
Okay.
No. We can only talk like this when there's an agenda set. Otherwise, it's law.
Okay, so I will follow up with that. And I think the plan Christina and I were discussing was once we were able to get feedback from the board, we could prioritize working on some updates in December. I mean, personally speaking, I'll have a lot more free time and thankfully some time off in December. And so I think it's a good plan to come into the next meeting ready to discuss with feedback, and then kind of in that final stretch run of the year, making some of the updates to the website.
Awesome. Great. All right. So we have Think Easton for the agenda, PACE, update on PACE, and then Winter Places update. And then the last one is the Growth District Ambassadors, 5 questions update. That's 4 items. That's actually a lot of items. I try to keep these meetings to an hour. Sometimes they might go a little bit longer, but I'm trying to make an effort to keep them to 1 hour because I know everybody has a busy workday schedule, and this is right in the middle. Everybody, I can see everybody's actually working right now. So I'm trying to keep it to an hour, and I think that's a lot of material for 1 hour right there.
Okay, and then in the meantime, what I'll be doing is, after I talk with the two chambers, I will communicate with you folks with some days and times on doing the forum and a format for that, because we'll need to get that scheduled pretty quickly.
Okay.
Probably ahead of the next meeting.
Yeah, and if we have to squeeze in a meeting between now and then to make a decision, then we'll you can throw out an email and say, does this time work for a quick meeting just to discuss this one topic if we have to.
Yep.
I think that's really important.
Thank you.
The decision needs to be made before December 9th or December 9th, whatever the next meeting is.
Yep.
Then we can make ourselves available, find a way at night or in the morning, whatever. So that's it. So last item on the agenda, or item to consider, is end the meeting. Anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, Bruce?
Aye.
Betsy, yes. John?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
All right, yes to me. So we will meet again on December 9th.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Oh, same.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Same.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Bye.